Okay, so I'm gonna create an empty object. It's just a pivot. It's just a pivot point. It's nothing. I'm gonna call it key. I'm gonna use the key as the example. So like this object right here is the key. Just think of it like that. And then I'm gonna create just a cube. This would be like your key mesh. Like the thing you modeled. And so you can see the key. I'm going to go ahead and there you go. Now you can see it. Because it's visible, it's nothing. Anyways, this is the object I can place in the world. Like wherever I want to put the key. Okay? But this is the key. This is the part I'm going to animate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop it into that key object. I'm going to go ahead and zero it out so it's in the same position. That way when I move around the key, it's wherever it is, right? Then what I need to do is I want to animate it.
Wait, you move the mesh
inside of that empty game object, but dragging right on top of it.
Making sure. I would put it the other way.
Yeah, you can tell it's a child too by it unfolding like that. So the actual mesh itself is going to be a child of the empty object you made. Then I need to animate. So to animate on the empty game object, I'm going to put an animator. Like that. But for an animator, you need an animation controller. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to create one. So create and then animator controller, and then you can just name a key. So now it has a controller, and then I'm just going to drag and drop that into that slot. So now you set it up so you can animate. If it's not already open.
So you can rename things the same thing as long as they're not like
the same thing.
Yeah, option. Yeah, okay.
Like if they were both meshes and you named it both key, you would automatically rename it to key space 1 for the next one.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've set that up. So I made it an empty game object, a cube that I dropped in there, and then I put an animator on the key. So now I just need to animate. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the animation window. So now it's not already open. And I usually drag and drop it down here, so you get like that nice long thing down here. Right. Now what you do here is you go ahead and add curve, which becomes an animation clip. Right? So I'm just going to call this like key rotation, or whatever you guys want to call it. So now there's an animation clip that you can record. This right here is like the auto key, which is like the only thing you can do, I think. So like you hit record, and whatever I do, it's going to record it. What you can do though is, even though the animator is on the parent object, you can select the child object and record movements of the child object.
Okay.
Alright? So I'm going to go ahead.
Really confusing. I mean, like, if they're both moving, right?
They're both not going to be moving.
Okay.
The child object is going to move locally based off of the parent object. So I can move the parent object wherever I want, and it's just going to do its animation based off of the local space.
I was just saying, like, if you start animating on that, and you're thinking it's on the...
Yeah, you could screw it up. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do an original rotation and then just zero it out. So that's the starting point. And then I could say I'll just go for half, and I'll rotate it 180 degrees. Actually, I could have just rotated it 360 or whatever. 360. And then right in between, I'll move it up. Move it back down. So it's kind of like what you were trying to do with the key. This is going to be like really fast. If you want to slow it down without re-recording it, you just lower the sample rate. Just a little slower. Like that. Now check it out though, no matter where I move the actual whole object, the key object, it's still going to animate the same way.
Oh,
I was on record.
I was about to say, you had auto record still on.
Make sure it's
You pulled a jaw!
That's how we mess it up!
Make sure you hit unrecord, and then you can, when you're done or whatever, and then you can move the parent object wherever you want. It'll still animate the same way as before, no matter where you put it. Okay. Now, if I had recorded like this top object here, it would snap back to where you originally recorded, because that's where the animation is. Based on world space. So now you can just move wherever you want. I do the same thing with doors. Because let's say you have a door facing this way somewhere, and then a door facing this direction somewhere else. If you record it in world space, this one will be like open.
Okay.
Like you know, they'll like do this, and you're like, what the fuck? It's supposed to be closed. But if you put it on a parent, like an empty game object, and then only record it locally, then it'll be shut and it'll just rotate based off.
As long as you don't put too many animations on the other object.
You can put as many as you want.
I mean, not on the object, but on the locator thing. You
don't put any animations
yeah.
on it. Just don't put any animations on it. Yeah.
Like you did before, don't do that.
Yeah.
You still record.
Like even with character objects, I put them on empty game objects, and I move around the empty game object with the controller, and they just animate inside of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome, actually. Cool.
And then one other thing you want to check, and then here's your clips. Like if there's not already a folder, just make one called like animation and drop everything in there. That's the animation. So one's the controller, which shows up in here, which I can then put in code. And then the other one's the clip, so like the actual thing. So if you want it to loop, make sure loop time is off. But if it's not supposed to loop, like opening a door, it's on loop, it'll just keep opening like over and over again. Make sure you turn off loop time on the clip.
Okay.
So that way it just opens and stays there.
Cool.
Yeah. And then if you want to do a reverse animation, instead of like reanimating it, I mean you can copy paste and move them around, it takes time, whatever. You can just create a new state, name it. So I could do like key reverse. And then here, this takes an animation clip. So that clip I just made, I'm going to drag and I'm going to just put it in there. So if you click on the little target thing, it'll show like all of them that you have. If you have a lot, it can be hard to find the thing. Put it, and I'll put -1 speed. Make a transition. This basically just allows it to, I'm going to go from this one to this line and whatever. Basically, I made a variable, and if the variable is true, like this, if it's orange, that's what it starts on. Like I'm going to start on this one, and then like that animation clip. And then if I change it to true, because it starts out as false, if I change it to true, it's going to go from this animation to this animation. And then with this other transition, if it goes back to false, it'll go back to the other animation. So you just go back and forth.
Didn't you put a tutorial on Google Plus like the first quarter we did it?
Yeah. It was like a big old series of them.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go back and rewatch them, though.
Alright. So, move the animator so I can see it.
Because, John, you never know that meter that, like, fills up for it. I might be able to make a particle effect of, like, doing that so it looks a little bit, like, swankier or something.
It's not on loop, though, so it only does one rotation, but it transfers between the two, so it's rotating in one direction and the other direction, based on this variable. If I actually click on it, you can see it running the animation. And it turns off and it goes to the other one. It's almost like Kismet in a way, if I click that. But if I go back to this and I turn it back to loop time, it'll just continue going.
Sweet.
Oh, but only with, okay.
I believe since I made that change during runtime. Okay, sometimes when you make a change during runtime, it doesn't. Typically, it doesn't stay changed. Yeah. Some things will, like animation clips or audio stuff like that. They'll stay like the changes.
Okay.
But I think that's because they have nothing to do with actual.
And it's already almost done.
So that's how you should set up your animations, so that you can move your object wherever. So then, like, if I want to duplicate this key here and move it somewhere else, because you need 2 keys to open up a puzzle system or whatever. Now they're separate.
Did you post it in the portfolio blog thing?
They have this project?
Sure. I have the recording here.
Oh, you're recording?
Yeah.
Yeah, put that recording up. I will totally get it.
I don't know if it recorded my voice or not.
It doesn't matter. I just need to see it.
What you saying? All right.